Alright, here's part 2 of the video. Right now I'm going to skin the deer and I'm going to quarter it. Now I'm not going to mount this deer, but I'm going to show you how to cape him out and the steps to do to preserve your hide if you're doing this yourself. And I've got a guy that he runs a taxidermy business and he really needs a cape with a big neck like his. Alright, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start by cutting the back legs off. That way when I get done with the deer and he's hanging up, I don't have to worry about cutting the legs off after I've already skinned him out. It's going to keep hair from getting on the meat. I'm all about trying to keep my meat clean because I am going to eat this deer. The last video I made, it was really windy, so this time I'm hoping I've got a wind block up. It's a little small breeze, but I'm going to make sure that everybody can hear me. Right here you have 2 knuckles. What you want to do where this first knuckle is, if you stick your thumb where that crease is in your thumb at the start of that knuckle, right here where the end of your thumb is, if you make an incision right there all the way around, then you got to do is twist that leg and it'll fall right off. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. You can see the knuckle from either side, really does not matter. Right here where the knuckle is, I'm going to put my crease of my thumb right here at that knuckle, and I'm going to come right off the front of my thumb. Make sure you move your thumb before you do it. Now, right here's the tarsal gland. The deers do pee on this. That's how they mark themselves. What I'm going to do right here, stick the tip of my knife in, and I'm using a Forstner 6-inch flex. You can get them off eBay. It's German steel. I've used them my whole life. They keep a good edge. And I'm going to stick my tip right here. I'm just going to guide it right down to where it's open, right here. As I pull this back, you'll see a little thin tissue. It's called fleece. If you start just by scraping, you'll see as that membrane goes back towards the meat. Keep that on the meat. You want to get it off the skin, onto the meat. It's going to make all your meat stay to your deer, not pull off on your skin. Plus, when you get ready to cut the deer up, it gives you a layer to pull off to where you're not taking meat off. Only thing I'm doing is just scraping action. You'll see as the actual membrane goes back towards the deer. My neighbors are pretty cool. Nobody ever says nothing. Now if you know a buddy or your wife still got to kill a deer, you can take those off and they make real good sense. Now what I'm going to do is come on the inside of the leg, do the exact same thing. I'm just going to run it down all the way to the open part of the hand. Just scraping it, drawing that membrane back towards the meat. Alright, now my legs are opened up. Now when I get done quartering this deer, last time I have hanging is going to be the hams. All I got to do is pick them up, throw them in the cooler. Now I'm going to use a little redneck ingenuity like I always use in these videos. Thing all I do is I got a branch, I got a rope and a gamble, and I got a truck. I'm going to tie him up to the truck, and I'm going to go forward, it's going to pull the deer up. Okay, now I'm going to start by taking the front legs off. The same way, there's a knuckle that starts right here, coming up the leg. You see where the knuckle starts? Put your thumb there, same as the back legs. Make an incision. Same way on this one. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start up here. I'm going to cut that off. Now what I'm going to do right here, zoom in to watch where I'm making my cuts here. Alright, if you're going to mount a deer, right here is about where you want your hide. But for a good shoulder mount where he don't have to do any more stitching, to where he don't have to make anything that's going to make the deer possibly not look normal, you do not want to cut past here for that neck mount. So when I start coming down, I want to come even with the legs right there. Right where the legs are even. That's going to save a whole lot of trouble for your taxidermy and going to make a better mount. Now I'm going to start up here. I'm going to pull this flank off, pull it out, I'm just going to start scraping. As soon as I make an incision, start coming down, you'll see that membrane going back, and that same membrane runs every bit of this. You'll see where the flank meat starts. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to run straight up. You see the flank meat going back. I just work my way back up the deer, just in a scraping motion. I'm not cutting, I'm just using the first couple inches of my knife right here and I'm just scraping. Once I've got that flank meat joined to this ham, that's far enough, it'll pull from there. Now if you take a big deer, you let him sit overnight and try to skin him, he's going to be a little bit tougher. You might want to skin him back just a little bit further. But all I'm going to do is follow down this hide. I'm just going to scrape all the way down, just getting it started. See how I'm just scraping? And that meat's going back towards the deer. Once I get down here where I can see his shoulder start, I stop. I'm going to pick up right here where I cut from. Do the same thing, just scrape it back until I'm over top of the ham. Now right here, this is where you're going to be able to keep your flank meat on your deer. As I pull it down, you can see that tissue pulling. I'm going to make just scraping the hide. You can see the membrane stays on the deer. Now I can pull that hide down and your flank meat stays on the deer. There's no meat on the hide. I'm going to grab this, I'm going to pull it back, same way as the other side. Make an incision. I can see the flank meat. I'm going to start the flank meat. Just rolling that membrane back. Once I've rolled that all the way up, now I'm going to open him up all the way down to my shoulder, just like the other side. So I've scraped it back far enough to that shoulder. Now I'm ready to pull. Alright, right here where the tail is, right where that tail bends, if you go straight in, there's joints in that tail. You cut right through that joint. Now the hide's free. Now my last videos, everybody seen me stick my knife in the deer. Everybody thought I was sticking it in the butthole. I was not sticking it in the butthole. right here where his pelvis is, you can see the outline of where that ham meets that pelvis. I'm actually sticking it right there where I'm going to be cutting the hams loose anyway. When I come around that joint and come down, right here's the cut I'm going to have to make. I'm sticking my knife right there. Most of the time I'm wearing a sheath and I can stick my knife in the holder, but most people's not going to have that. If you're using a short blade, I recommend don't stick it in there because the knife will fall and will cut you. The only thing I'm doing is just pulling it down, making sure all the meat stays on the deer. Okay, now I've got the hide all the way down to the shoulders where I'm ready to make my next cut. From this point right here, if I do not want the extra hide hanging off the head, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this hide up right here to where it's even with that brisket. Where I made this incision down to the brisket, I'm going to cut the hide loose from right here. If you're unsure, do not cut it. Leave the hide on there. Let the taxidermist cut it off. It just makes more stuff that he has to throw away. But at least you know you got enough hide for your mount. But me, I'm going to cut it loose up here. I'm going to throw that part away. And as you can see, I've got enough hide all the way around for the taxidermist to use as a mount. But when you do cut it loose, it does cause hair. If you pull it up, guess what? You get hair on the meat. Alright. Right here where this shoulder starts, you can see, as I'm scraping it back, you see this shoulder. What I'm going to do is lay that hide straight, and I'm going to cut through. Now where I'm to my leg, I'm just going to run straight down the side of that leg and cut this skin loose. Just like that. Same thing, I'm just scraping. I start back on the other side and I scrape down the other side. Now that's loose. Now I'm going to come right here in the middle, just scrape. Making sure I don't put any holes in the hide. Same thing with the other side. Come down, and I've got that overlapping. We'll cut straight through. I'm going to follow that line. Just follow the line. Alright, now that I've got him worked off the legs, down to the neck, I'm going to stick my knife, not in the butthole, but right here along the ham. I'm going to pull it on down until I get it all the way down to the neck. Now, once I've got it down to the neck, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tip of my knife, I'm going to start scraping all the way around until I get it down where I have about 4 to 6 inches of neck left on that head. If I wasn't mounting the deer, I'd take it all the way down to the base of the skull. But to where a taxidermist can get the measurements. I wanted to leave enough on there to where he can measure the circumference and the swell size to where he can get the right mount for you. Now I'm just going to start scraping down until I get it down there to where I need it. Sharpen my knife for a second. I'm doing the same method. I'm just scraping using the tip of my knife. That way I'm keeping as much meat on the deer and off the hide as I can. Now if I wasn't caping this deer out, when I'd have started skinning this deer, right here on this brisket where I started coming down, I stopped right here at the shoulders, I would have actually kept going, went all the way down to the base of the skull. That way the only thing I'd have had done was the same thing up here, just scrape it back to get it started. I could have pulled that hide all the way down to the base of the head without having to do this right here. But if you're head mounting, you want to make sure you don't cut down far. Alright, I'm down to where I have about 4 to 6 inches of neck left. You can see where the neck starts to narrow down. I want to make sure I have where it's swelled. That way when he makes the measurement, he knows what form to get. So right here where the neck starts to narrow down, I'm going to go right here to where I see where the neck is fully swelled. It's going to be about 4 to 6 inches up. I skint the hide down far enough where you can see what I'm talking about. All now I'm going to do is cut all the way around. Put my knife back in my holder. Alright, from right here, you can use a saw. You can cut all the way around. You can use a little brute force. You snap the vertebrae loose. A little quick jerk and the head comes off. Now it's ready for the taxidermist. Now I'm going to give the deer a good washing because like I said, I want my meat good and clean. And then we'll start quartering it up. Alright, now as you can see, my deer is good and clean. I'm going to start right here on the shoulders. I'm going to grab hold of the shoulder. I'm making an incision. I'm just going to start pulling that shoulder back as I'm cutting. Right there's a little piece of fat. I'm just going to cut loose. I'm going to come right up against the ribs. I'm not touching the ribs. I'm just coming right in between the shoulder and the ribs. And I just follow it around until you see the back straps, and I cut her loose. Ready for the cooler. Same thing on the other side. Pull the shoulder out. Bring the knife straight up through there. Right there's that little layer of fat I was telling you about. Alright, now that the shoulders is off. Alright, now what I can do right here is right here where this neck starts. You can see where the neck pivots. I can come right through there, and I can actually pull that whole thing off there for a roast, or I can follow the neck bone straight down. You see that tendon? Because I shot the deer in the neck, I'm just going to go ahead and bone it out for burger. I come on the side of the tendon and cut the tendon out. Same thing on the other side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my cut around to the side. I'm going to roll that meat back. I'm just going to follow the neck down. It's kind of hard to see what I'm doing because obviously I shot the deer in the neck. But the thing I'm doing is coming down one side of the vertebrae, cutting up, down, up, and back down the other side, just making a big U. Now before I cut it loose, I don't want all that in my cooler. So what I'm going to do is cut the gunshot out before I put it in the cooler. I wasted quite a bit of neck meat, but I saved all my shoulders and everything else, so it'll make it a whole lot easier about not losing meat. Now when I get right here to the esophagus, now I just go right around it. Pull that vein back. I just cut around the esophagus, right down to where it opens up. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to come around that neck bone all the way to the front where the esophagus is. on a deer that's not shot up, you don't have any dirt, any bloodshot, there's actually a whole lot of meat on these ribs. Most times if you're quartering out in the field, you can get the biggest part of it. Most time you can't sit here and just bone out every rib. There's actually a couple pounds of meat there, but I'm going to show you how to do it if you're out in the field. If you're doing it out back by your house or at the hunting camp. What I'm going to do is just make a score. I'm not cutting all the way through. Because his ribs is going to be layered. There's going to be meat, fat, meat, fat, meat, fat all the way down. It's almost like skinning him all over again. Cut the flank meat down. If there's any kind of bacteria, it's going to be right here. Any kind of dirt or anything, because that's the incision right there that we made when we was opening him up to field dressing. The only thing we had open was this little slit. So when it comes to cleaning them up after field dressing, that right there is as much as I'm going to have to cut off. I don't have to worry about anything that was on the meat. Same way there. That's the only thing I had opened up when I field dressed that deer. Now from this point, you see right here where there's a little bit layer of fat. Just going to shave that down. Now I'm just going to follow this flank meat. And you can see as it's coming off in layers. Now you can see the next layer. Now I'm going to start right back up here at the ham again. Now I'm going to skin that layer of fat off. All the way down till you start to see that back strap. You can see that silver lining of that back strap. I'm going to hold my knife flat until I get right there where that back strap is. When I get right there to the back strap, I go back to skinning the fat off. As you can see, as I'm skinning this off, you can see the next layer of meat. Now when I get right here, you see that layer of fat, come right through here, I'm just going to score it. That way now I can hold my knife flat to my ribs, I can take off that layer. Alright, you see there's another layer of fat. Now I can come back up here. I got good clean meat. I'm gonna cut this one little layer of fat out right here. Now I've saved all my flank meat. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Almost like skinning them for the second time. the next layer is. Just shake it back off it. Stand in front of the camera, tell me, because I can't see. Now, when I'm cutting that loose, I want to make sure I'm not getting into my tenderloins or my back straps right there. Little layer of fat right there. Lay my knife flat to my ribs. Okay, now I've got all my rib meat off. Now what I'm going to do is right here where my little tenderloins are, I'm going to pull this fat back. I'm just going to score down on each side of it. Cut this out of here so you can see it. These are real tender pieces of meat, so it don't take much to rip them. Thing I do is run my knife down it, getting all the fat, any kind of blood, anything might be on them. Just kind of scrape them down. That frees them up. I'm going to come right straight down the backbone on each side. Just kind of a scraping motion. Then when I get down to the bottom, I'm going to turn my knife and I'm going to come straight out. Then I can pull up on it. Same thing. Go in, straight out. In, straight out. All the way up to the top. Cut her loose, there's your tenderloin. Same way right here on the back. In and out, in and out. There's your tenderloin. Now we're going to pull the back straps off. Right here where this ham stops, right here you can see his ham come around. Right here where that meets the back strap, I'm going to stick my knife right there. You can follow it around. As soon as you hit it right there, you're going to feel that joint from that pelvis. You know, my makeshift knife holder. You're going to stick it in, you're just going to follow it around. Just follow the bone. When it gets up, you're going to feel it hit that spine. Same way on the other side. Come straight down off that hip. Just follow it up and around. Now I'm going to stick my knife in. I'm going to run it straight down the backbone, all the way down on each side. Same thing right here. Stick it in, all the way down both sides. Alright, now that I've got it cut like that, I've got it cut up and around. Right here, where these small little end pieces here are, where your tenderloin was, will come in right here and shave right up against the bone. Shave right up against the bone. Just pulling the loin back. When you get to the ribs, just follow the ribs down. When you come back in, you make another cut until you feel it hit the spine. Start Start back here at the top and go back down once more. There's a little hump in there where the vertebrae are. It'd be the spine, it'd be a little hump, then it'd be where you're coming off of. So once you get where you can see that knuckle, you come back on the other side of it, come back down on the other side. And there's your back strap. You can see right here where that knuckle is. It runs flat. You get this little hump right here, and it runs flat off this side. When you come down to that hump, you come into that hump, then you have to cut over top of it. I'll show you again on this side. Come straight in off where this bones are. Hold your knife flat to the bones on the back side. That gets you started. Then you can pull it back. Just keep scoring down where the rib cage rolls over. Just keep your knife flat to the ribs. Just follow your ribs all the way down. Just keep pulling it down. Alright, I'm through my hump. Come back in, go over up top of the top side of it. There's my back strap. Now that I've pulled off everything I'm going to, now if I had it on the table, I would go through and trim these rib meats out. It's kind of hard to do standing up. I hate to waste meat, but if you're going to be doing it out in the field, hunting camp, anything like that, or for yourself, most people don't worry about the rib meat. Now if I had it in the meat shop right now, I would. But what I'm going to do right here, I'm going to cut me a little handle. And every one of these vertebrae, you can see that white disc. Any one of these you cut right through that disc, this will break loose from it. Now I've got a handle, I'll pack it over here and put in my barrel. Alright, now we're back to my hands. And the reason I really wanted to leave all this membrane, not only do I save my flank meat, and I was able to save it, but now if I do have any kind of dirt, any kind of hair, even after washing and trying to do the best I can with it, when I get it in there on the meat table and start processing it, now I can grab this little membrane and I can cut it off, and I do not waste any meat. Now to cut my hams loose, I'm going to come straight in. I'm going to cut where that pelvis is. I'm going to go straight in until I feel it. I'm just going to work it around. When you feel there's no bone, stick your knife straight through, angle it to the back side of that deer towards the spine, and bring it down. This is going to be a U shaped in there. It's going to be slanted almost a 45-degree angle, and it's going to run to the backbone. From right here, it dips in and around. So now I'm going to come off my front side on the other side, stick my knife in. As soon as I hit that ball right there, you're going to feel there's no bone. Where I don't feel no bone, I angle my knife back, I'm aiming it straight towards the backbone. I just bring my knife around. Now off the back side, you see where my little hole is where I've been sticking my knife, not the butt hole. I'm going to stick it flat to that pelvis. I'm going to bring it around. You feel there's bone, just follow the bone. If there's no bone, I go back in, follow it around. You see where it's swooped. Same thing off the other side. You go in, go back in. Now you see where it's narrow, but it's big in the front. That's why it angles back. Now that I've got it cut loose on the back side, I'm going to come back into where these little ball joints are. You can see that one right there hanging out of the socket. I just cut that one loose. Come in on the other side. You see the little ball joint. Stick your knife tip into that ball joint. Cut it loose. Now all you got to do is come back up off the pelvis. Catch any meat that you missed. Go around that ball joint one more time. Just follow that hip out. Now that I've cut that loose, you can see the ball joint, you can see the other one on the other side. Already cut it loose. All I have to do is when I cut that loose, is I'm gonna roll it towards me, cut straight down because that's a little piece of meat, all it's holding. And now that I've already cut my legs off before I started, only thing I have to do is lower my gamble, grab my legs, and go into the cooler. And that's all there is to it. Nothing but good clean meat going to the cooler. Stick them outdoors, bud.